Got you. Oh, thank you, Nina Beth, for pushing record. We record all these sessions and then we post them on the district training page for people who've missed the session. Or if you want to go back, if there's something you didn't quite catch, you can always go back and look at it again as well too. So we'll put everybody on mute except Jacob. And it's my pleasure this afternoon to have Jacob Higginbotham with us. I'm Kathy Napier. I'm from the Warren County Club, and we have Nina Beth Thornton. Nina Beth is the chair of the training team this year and last year. And we've got Jacob Higginbotham, who is our district treasurer. And he's going to tell you everything you need to know about being treasurer for your club. So without further ado, Jacob, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, let's see if I can do this. All right, does everybody can see the screen? All right, cool. I appreciate you guys for joining us today. It looked like a small crowd, but hey, we'll get through it all together. Maybe we can get out a few minutes early. So, excuse me. The treasurer training this year is pretty much the same as it has been the last couple of years. So, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in the middle of it, or you can raise your hand and put your question in the chat screen, and Nina Beth or Kathy will get it. We'll get those answered. But seriously, if you have any questions during the middle of the presentation, don't hesitate to ask. I'm not afraid to stop and answer a question. So I do have an assistant treasurer. His name is Peter Howard. He is from the Danville Club, one of the 3 clubs in Danville. The reason why I have an assistant treasurer is because it helps have another set of eyes on the books, and he also signs the checks are above $1,000. So I won't get into that, but I think I would also suggest that you have a limit set that for checks, so that you can sign up to a certain amount. And then after that, you have to have 2 signatures on the checks. So that's the reason why I have Peter's as the assistant treasurer for me. So let's see here. How's that go away? All right. So the first one is introduction, roles and responsibilities as Rotary Club treasurer. I think your role as a club treasurer is to work with the board and work with the members of your club. Each Rotary Club must exercise impeccable fiscal responsibility. That is to optimize the use of its funds and maintain trust in the community amongst the club membership. So you want to make sure you have good accounting practices. And then also, for a small piece of paper, it carries a lot of weight. And so it's just a little quote that we came up with that we go by. So your treasurer's roles and responsibilities. What are your resources? What's expected of you, your club budget, financial records and accounts, communication with the club, the district RI and IRS, financial reporting and fiscal control and best practices. And at the end, we'll have, like I said, summary and questions. So today's session, I want to, your participation. Like I said, ask questions at any time, share your insights, please. What's worked for you guys? If you're a repeating treasurer or new treasurer, definitely raise your hands. And also, penny for your thoughts, just put that out there. So the first thing is you can go to the district webpage, which is district7570.org, I think. Click on the resources tab. You scroll down to district download, scroll down, and you'll find the manual procedures. That's one tool that you'll go by and live by, the manual procedures. So as expected of you, managing your funds, you're planning, monitoring, and organizing the dollars. You're collecting and submitting dues and fees each quarter. You're paying the bills, sending your contributions to RI, which could be your sustainer funds or your monthly funds for your polio, reporting, including your tax return, developing a budget, and preparing your successor. It's always good to have the successor in the pocket, so you'll know who you're going to turn this over to when your time is up. Most clubs have a 2-year time limit. Some clubs have a year, but most are 2 years. I was treasurer of my club, Johnson City Noon, for 9 years. I just didn't think, after 1 year, you basically get in, you're turning things over and you're done, and you turn it over to the next person. So we turned that to 2 years, but I ended up doing 9 years, and now I'm district treasurer. So you get to look forward to that. Questions you should ask either me or the board is, where can I get a copy of last year's budget? Can you help me understand how it's put together? Where are the bank accounts? Who has the signature authority? How do I get online access? And do we have any debt? So those are the questions you probably should ask your current treasurer, your board, or I can definitely point you in the direction of where you can get answers for that stuff. The other ones are, how are dues billed and collected? Do you use DAC-DB or QuickBooks or another vehicle? What do I do with the foundation gifts, the standard dues? What paperwork do I need to file and with who? And can I get a copy of our club bylaws? What caused you the biggest headaches? And what do you wish you had an opportunity to change? So a lot of those questions you'll be able to get answered from your current treasurer / your board / your president. Someone that has been familiar with your club, knows the interactings of your club, will be able to help you with that. All right, so the next one is your club bylaws. Best to know your club bylaws, and attaches the 2019 manual procedure, Article 9. So if you click on the link that I did earlier, you'll scroll down to that. And Article 9 in the finance section, it has some different items that, one has 6 different sections. And the one thing that this one right here, the fiscal year is from July 1st to June 30th of each year. So that is the one thing that you'll need to know, the biggest thing that we run on a fiscal year from July 1 to June 30th. Your budget reflects the club's annual plan. Good budgeting is key to a club success, and involve the board of directors and ask questions. So basically each of our board meetings each month in my club, I would go over the budget, P&L, and the balance sheet of what happened the prior month. So that way the board can keep on track with everything and know what's going on and how to plan out the year with what they have to do, what they can't do.
So Jacob, Kathleen has her hand raised. Kathleen, you want to ask your question?
I'm sorry, are you on a different, the slide that I'm seeing is still the what question should you ask? Have you moved ahead in slides?
Yep. Let me see here.
And while doing this, a couple of people have just joined. So if you would please put your name and your club name in chat for us. That way we know who's been with us. We appreciate that. And
What
if you have
slide
questions,
do you have? What slide did you say I had?
This is what question should I ask? Now it's what is expected of you. Oh, now you're back at the beginning.
That one?
This one is what is expected of you. What question should I ask?
and I think you would move to the next one. Yeah, there you
Bylaws.
go.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Sorry about that, guys.
Yep.
So basically what I was saying on the club bylaws, 29, this is the procedure manual that you'll find, Article 9 in the club manual procedure. So if you click on that link at the beginning of the slide, it'll actually take you to the manual procedure. I think RI will probably update this, because the reason why I say that is because the calendar year, like it says, from July 1st to June 30th, but in their manual procedure, their calendar only goes to 2023. So I think they will update this probably at their next big meeting, which probably, I guess, is an international conference. So the budget, your budget reflects the club's annual plan. Good budgeting is key to club success. Involve your board of directors and ask questions. So basically, you kind of want to talk to your prior treasurer and kind of figure out what he or she might have done or not done, and talk to your presidents and get your president-elect involved also. So your budget revenues include your club dues, your district dues and RI dues, your guest meals, any fundraisers. If you have split the pot, what we call happy dollars in my club, and anything else that you might have that that you can put to the bottom, line. Your expenses, say for underneath your club administration might be printing, postage, badges, pins, certificates, meals, the new member packets. Your committees, if you decide if your committee wants to have a budget or not, your projects and donations, your miscellaneous expenses, contingency fund, special funds, and what else. It's always good to have a contingency fund set up, so that you'll need to get with your president-elect to find out if he or she wants to have a fund set up on the side.
Jacob, do you have a recommendation for how much or what percentage of your budget you should have in contingency?
It's really up to each club. For example, when we did the budget last year, we only had about a $1,500 contingency plan on top of that. Even during COVID, there's no percentage set forth. It's just it's something to have there, but you always want to have a zero lined out budget if you can. Never want to have a negative budget. I've never had a percentage on a contingency plan. I don't think I think we only have $100 in there this year. So not very much of anything, but it's up to each treasurer and each president-elect probably to have that. So the Rotary International dues and fees. Dues are paid to RI and they're per capita. So for each of the dues this year, they're $35.50 per half year. That's for 22, 22, and 23. That's for RI, Rotary International. They're paid July 1st and January 1st, and based on the number of members in the club on these dates. They do prorate them for Rotarians joining between July 1st and January 1st and July 1st. So if a club has fewer than 10 members, it shall pay an additional per capita dues of an amount equal to the amount it would have paid for its 10 members. So just remember that you're always going to get billed from RI twice a year, and from the district only once a year. The Rotary magazine is $6 per half year, so it's $12 total. Insurance is usually $2.80 per member, but they'll do the published rates on that July 1st. Around July 1st, that $2.80 is the rate we had last year. The estimate will come out, like I said, in June of 2022, but it'll be published on July 1st. Dues for representation at the council legislation is usually $1.50 per member. And that's usually just a one-time charge on July 1st. So here's a screen that really helped put everything into perspective for you guys. So the RI dues, like I said, are $35.50 a half year, $71 annual. The magazine is $6 for a half year, $12 annual. Insurance is $2.80 per year. The COL is $1.50 per year. And district dues this year is going to be $39 per year per member. And so district dues are sent out November 1st. I will send them out to your treasurer on November 1st, and it's based off your roster September roster is based off your, so whatever you have on your September roster is how many people I'll put on the dues. So you might have less people on your roster in November, but whatever you have on your roster in September is what the dues are based off of. So total annual is $126.30, and per quarter you're looking at $31.58 per quarter. So per capita active member annual dues is $39 per Rotarian. This is for district dues. Now, $39 per capita. That's based on, like I said, based on your club roll as of September 30th. And your district dues are due December 1st. And if not paid by January 1st, a 5% penalty is assessed. I didn't have anybody who was outstanding this year past January for district dues. So just want to kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So when you get a QuickBooks, it'll come out from QuickBooks from me, and I will send it out November 1st. And if you have any questions, definitely get it back. Ask me, and I'll be glad to take a look at it. The invoices are sent to the club treasurer by QuickBooks invoicing. Website and database fee, maintenance fee is going from it's up to $80. It was $60, but now we're doing $80 per club. That's because we've had some more costs and with the Zoom and with the website. The company that handles our website raised their prices, and so we had to do the same thing, unfortunately. I think that's the way everything is in America nowadays. So this is a sample budget form that you can look at and use. I'm sure each of you guys have something that you probably already use. QuickBooks, you can actually do your own budget, and I think DACDB has a way you can do a budget also. So if you don't have QuickBooks at all, you can use DACDB. So for example, my club uses DACDB modules for the finance, some of the modules in finance, and also use QuickBooks. But some of the smaller clubs just use an Excel spreadsheet and the DACDB modules for finance also. So here's an example of something that you get out of QuickBooks. You have the number of meetings, 5, number of members versus number of members billed. You can look at your special projects. Better to keep the fundraising separate. I would keep, as much as long as possible. I would keep everything as separate as possible. This is the same thing, just a different, showing you just different ways. So your meal cost vary by number of weeks. As you can see, it's different each week. Your fundraiser expenses. Then you training and conferences, once I said I keep everything separate. So you're looking at the end, you have your total expenses, total revenue, and then your net revenue. So for example, this club made $161.63. So does anybody have any questions?
I just a comment. My club, Jacob, keeps the service dollars separate from the operational budget because most of our fundraising goes towards service and not operations. So they actually keep them separated in separate accounts. Is that something you would recommend, or is that overkill?
As long as you have its own line item, as long as you can keep it separate, that's fine. You can keep it in the same budget. But it's probably overkill, but as long as everything's broken apart, so I know that $500 came in for service. I know we're going to send $500 off for service. So it's not just lumped into one line item. You have multiple line items and you're good to go. I think it's easier to break everything apart to have multiple line items to do for that to be said and done. So yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so the next one is talk about approval and auditing. Questions to ask your current treasurer is who's going to approve the bills? How will approval take place? Does your club have an audit committee? And what is their role in that committee? And how is the annual audit going to be taken care of? So for example, the district has an audit each year and is made up of 3 different members on the committee. And I send them all the balance sheets, the budgets versus actual, and P&L, and a couple other things. And they look at it, and we talk about it. So I think that's, depending on the size of your club and what your club's done in the past, it's probably don't need to have one, but it is a good thing to have. At least to have a couple different eyes looking at your books each year. So treasurer communication, so club members, is due payments, your club secretary's attendance, your club president board is your financial reporting, your committees, your budget performance, District 7570 is dues and grants, and Rotary International and Rotary Foundation is dues, grants, and foundation contributions. So it's good to be able to kind of know the different communication of where you're going to go and who you're talking about, what you're talking about. So your membership status, it's always good to be in good standing. Attend meetings or make up paid dues. And your treasurer and secretary work together on this. So it's always good to have a good relationship with your secretary, which I had when I was in the club. And also, if you have an executive secretary, also to have a good, relationship with her too, or him. But I wasn't really big on the members hitting the attendance numbers for our bylaws. As long as they paid, I really wasn't a big lenience on that. I didn't really make a big stink about that. As long as we were able to get their money each quarter. So a little bit different. But as long as we're able to get their funds, they can come or not come, whatever. So leave it up to them. So your membership status, your responsibility is of the treasurer is the member dues payment records, a periodic review, as a member in current or in good standing, and then your secretary's responsibility, and just kind of a flow chart back in and out. So communications with me, so district annual dues payments. So we do not have electronic drafting anymore except for QuickBooks. And we're in the process of talking on that now. I think we're going to go ahead and do that for next year for QuickBooks. So if you do get a bill from me for QuickBooks next year, you can pay that online and be drafted out. But we do not have the electronic drafting that we had a couple of years ago. And so, that would be also determined at the DLA and PETS of what the budget that we put through. District grants, global grants, and definitely check out the District 7570 website. And so, whoops. Here's also a good thing to find your financial goals are set at PETS. So talk to your president and your board to prep your PE. So when they go to PETS at the end of April, they know exactly what they're going to be doing with your polio goal, your annual fund share goal, what the percentage is, what they're going to be talking about.
Yeah, so those are two goals that the president-elects are supposed to bring with them to PETS. The annual fund giving for the Rotary Foundation and the Polio Plus giving. Yeah. So
it's always good to talk to your president and your current treasurer, see where you are now on that goal. If you've met 75% of it now, you're probably going to get close to 100 or over 100% this time of year. But definitely talk to them and find out and where you are. And if you can't find out, I can definitely try to help you, but you can definitely find those numbers at our RI website also.
You can find them on the Goals Center on myrotary.org.
And here's one thing that we used to do. I'm not sure. I haven't seen this in the last couple of years. Kathy, do you know if they're still printing this out? This was actually, so it was actually going by club. It had the area, the number of members, the annual fund, the actual, your per capita, and your polio goals.
They
So Molly,
used to
you-
print those in the Informer on
Yeah,
a,
any form
like
of
a,
that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I don't remember seeing them recently, though. I think
So
they print,
basically
they
what we
do
would
it once a
is go-
quarter, maybe.
Yeah, once again. So basically what they do, you could go down and look for your club, find your club and say, for example, let's say Front Royal, because they have, a big number. They're in Area 1, there are 82 members. Their annual fund goal was 12,500. Their actual is 7,150 and they're $87.20 per capita. So that gives you an idea of what I was talking about. And so like you can see for their polio goal is $2,000. Their actual polio goal actual right now is $22.55. So their per capita is $27.50. So it makes a big difference. Like it's just like, for example, for Forest, you look at Forest above that, their polio goal is $800. Their actual is $29.13 for that year. So per capita, they're at $132.41. So communications from RI is the Rotary Foundation giving. So the annual programs fund, sustainer payments, and polio plus fund. So those are basically the three big things that Rotary Foundation that RI has. You can find all those information about those three at the Rotary International website, which is rotary.org. So one of the big things I think you will find out is in your club is IRS tax filing. So the Rotary Club District 7570 is a 501c4. We're not a 501c3. So gifts to the club are not tax deductible. However, if you do have a foundation attached to your club, for example, the club I'm in, Johnson C. Noon, we have our regular club and we do have a foundation. So the foundation is a 501c3. And you can write a tax letter, the deductible on your taxes if you give money to the foundation. So, but if a person gives money to the operations and the operations sends it to the foundation, it's not tax deductible. Excuse me. So just make sure that that check has gone to the foundation, whatnot. So the district is a 501c4 along with each club, and the district is a 501c4. If you have a foundation, you're a 501c3. So once
Jacob,
again,
my club filed for the club being a 501c3, and we,
yeah, now some clubs can go through the process of doing that directly as a club 501c3, but it's a pain in the butt.
it was a laborious process. Yes.
There's a lot to it. And basically, if you do that, you kind of killing two birds with one stone with the club being a 501c3 and not a foundation. You don't have to have an extra board. You don't have to have an extra bank account. There's a couple of different things you don't have to have. So it makes it nice, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of work to get a club from a 501c4 to a 501c3.
We worked on it, I think, for probably about 3 years before we got it done.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Clubs must file a 990 in if your gross receipts are less than $50,000, includes meal payments. So, be honest with you, I would recommend that you talk to your CPA, maybe a CPA in your club, what they suggest also. The year end, like I said, the year ends June 30th. Most 990s are due by November 15th. So I would definitely talk to a CPA and get their advice on what you should be doing. Failure to fail for 3 years may lose tax exempt status. We're in the process of going through that with the club, Luke, in our district right now. Gentleman took over, and I don't think anything's been filed, and they have lost their tax exempt status, their federal ID number. They're trying to work on getting that back right now, but definitely you can get more information to irs.gov on for that. But definitely talk to a CPA because they have more information, and I'm definitely not a CPA. There's ask your CPA in your club for help. So you're filing. So your Form 990N is an electric notice postcard. You can file that. All systems moved to an Urban Institute website for irs.gov in February 2016. All filers must register at irs.gov prior to filing their Form 990. Is a one-time registration. You won't be asked to register again when filing next year. So just keep that information, and when you pass, if you're only treasurer for 1 year, let's pass that information on to the next treasurer. 990 ends must be completed and filed electronically. There is no paper form to send in to them. 990s may choose, filers may choose to file a complete form 990 or 990 EZ instead, which is the short form of that of 990. So you use the form 990N electronic filing system user guide while registering and filing. Most common problems can be avoided by following the user guide. So definitely check out the questions, and you can reach out to the IRS at that number below if you have any questions. And even if, like I said, even if you're late, you probably should still file. You just don't want to get into the 3-year status and lose your federal ID tax number. Your financial reporting, so your budget, you report to your board and club. Your budget versus actual, your board and committees. So your income and expense, your board. Age invoices to your board and secretary. Fundraising, your board and committees. Your foundation contributions to board and foundation committee. Your reserve fund is to your board. Your audits and reviews are to your board and club. And your tax returns are to the board and IRS. This is just some of the things that we have done. I did when I was a treasurer of my club, and I do now with in the district. So I would do report on a lot of these items to our board and our committees. So it's a good thing to do each month and to have in your back pocket all the times. Financial records and accounts. Definitely, with your checking accounts, update your signature cards. So you probably need to do that before July 1. So get with your current treasurer and find out what bank you're using or what bank you have been using, and update your signature cards so you can hit the ground running on July 1. You need to update your resolutions if you have any resolutions with your current bank. Usually your statements and checks, need to check to see if your statements have any prior names on there that you need to take off. Get internet banking access, need to get the passwords and the IDs for that. And reconciliations, you need to figure out who is going to be doing that, because it's not a very good idea to have that done just one person. Like I said, for the district level, we have Peter and I do it, and so we have 2 eyes look at it. And then for my club, when I was in Johnson City, I had a CPA that always looked at ours also. And so we also had 3 sets of eyes. So I would look at it, CPA would look at it, and our board would also look at it. And does your club also have any savings or investment account statements that you need to review? Your financial reports might be a sample report in the club's treasurer's manual, so you can look at that. Balance sheet, your profit and loss statements, and a budget versus actual. Rotary Foundation, you contribution records for standard giving and special gifts. So that's what you would need to look at with the Rotary Foundation. Minutes of meeting, coordinate with the club secretary, what they need or what they don't need. It's always a good idea to forward your reports onto the secretary so they have them, so they can include them in the minutes. Also, you need to talk to your club if you have a bond. It's always good to bond yourself as a treasurer in case something was to happen. That bond comes into play. And so we are bonded in a district. Peter and I are bonded in a district. So if anything was to ever happen, we have a bond for ourselves. The tax returns and IRS documentation and audit reports and committee reviews. Always good to have fiscal control. So use written agreements for club activities. Discuss bonding, liability insurance, club and USF general liability, and director and officers of employment practices liability insurance through RI. So RI does have a wide range, I guess, the insurance policy, if you want to say for the least, I can send that information to you so you can look at it. But for example, we just today we used it the insurance policy for for part of district conference. So you do have the opportunity to use that. Report
Excuse me,
often.
Jacob,
Yes, ma'am.
this is important. When I was club president, I didn't know we had the liability insurance, but anytime you have any type of event, you're going to need liability, and you get that through RI, and you can find that on our district website. You go
Yes.
to the finance page on the district website, and there's a form you can fill out, and you can get the information, and you have, lots of times you have to submit the insurance form to the facility where you're having an event, and you can get that through RI and the insurance company that RI works with.
That's correct. So so for example, we have a storage unit in Virginia Tech, and they require us to send them the insurance policy each year. So if anything was to happen, they can file it against the insurance for RI. So it is a good thing to have. And if you do have an event, that you have insurance for that event, it's covered. So one of the things is separate duties among club members. So we need to talk about what the club members are going to be doing, what the treasurer's responsibilities are, and also who's get approval for bill payment. So who approves the bills and who's going to make the payments of the bills? Typically, the treasurer make the payments, but is the president going to approve the bill, or is the board going to approve the bill? Why not? So your communication for your club. So here's another flow chart for you. So segregation of duty needed, your treasurer's responsibility, community responsibility, and whatnot. So you can look down through there and kind of flow through that and see where you might fall. Best practices, it's always plan for a succession and transition. So set a term limit for your treasurer. So like I said, it's always probably best to have a 2-year appointment. That way you're not doing something and in 6 months you're getting ready to turn everything over to the next person. Always appoint an assistant treasurer. That way it just has an extra set of eyes on your reports. And your bylaws might require you to have an amendment for a second assistant treasurer. So check that your bylaws out and see what the amendments say. You establish segregation of duties, so approval and payment of bills, who's going to approve and who's going to pay the bills, which is typically the treasurer will pay the bills, and your board or your president will approve the bills. Who's going to reconcile, or who's going to be looking at the reconciliation, check signing authorities. It's always a good thing to have at least 2 people that can sign checks. So typically the treasurer and always the president probably to sign checks, because if for example, if the treasurer's out on vacation, the president can sign a check. Opening accounts now at banks, typically you have to have the minutes from a board meeting to open accounts at banks. So once you already have an account established, you're probably good to go unless you change banks. And annual reviews or audits. So like I said, it's always good to have an audit at the end of the year. If you have that committee, you can do that, or have a review. Or if you, like I said, if you have someone in your club that's a CPA, talk to them and see what they suggest also, depending on the size of your club. Bonding, like I said, talk to your club and see what the best practice is for that. Like I said, the district bonds Peter and I for that simple reason for them. So also make sure you have a formalized budget. Work with your bank, utilize the online banking capabilities, which minimizes the fees by doing that. Sometimes you get charged for fees outside of using online banking. So see what you're capable, see what you can do there. Meet, report regularly by your board and committees, your president and secretary. So it's always a good time, always a good idea to meet with your president and your secretary outside of the board meetings if you need to, because it might be something you need to talk to them about other than that's only for their ears. And like I said, use an accounting system. DACDB is good for smaller clubs, and Excel. You can turn the modules on and off in QuickBooks or Peachtree for larger clubs. For example, for a smaller club, you might use the Excel, and DACDB. For my club in Johnson City, we use QuickBooks and DACDB. So we use DACDB for the invoicing and QuickBooks to use for the keep the numbers for the budgeting also. So some advice for you, be sure your sustainer contributions are paid to the club before remitted. So what that means is don't remit. So for example, if I am a sustainer, but I haven't paid for my sustainer for the quarter or for the year, don't turn my name in until you actually get the money from myself. Bill dues regularly so members know when to expect billings. So for example, like I said, the dues for our Rotary International are beginning of the year and January 1st, dues for the district or November 1st. Stay current with deposits, bookkeeping, reconciliations, and reports. So do it when it comes in. Don't wait 2 weeks to do it because you might forget something. When it comes in, take the time to go to the bank, drop the deposit off, or do it when you have items come in for your bookkeeping to do it as they come in. Talk to your board about how much they want to have in reserves. So usually it's just a percentage of what your net revenue is for the year. So you can talk to your board what's that been in the past, what it is, what it's going to be in the future. And you keep your record for a minimum of 3 years after 995. That is the standard practice. I think with the IRS is to keep that. I think your personal tax you're supposed to keep for 7 years. I think for this you can probably do for 3 years. And expect to get money, paperwork, etc. every time you go into a Rotary event. So don't go in and feel like I'm gonna come out empty-handed. Go in and expect that you're going to get some type of money or paperwork when you go in. And don't be afraid to implement new controls if they are needed. You may have to set the standard for how it's done. So I know people don't like change, but that's one of the things that you have to do. If it's not done the way that you want it to be done, definitely change it to fit your accounting system or your way of how it should be done. And encourage your members to bring in new members because that's where your new members bring in the revenue of your club. So here are some interesting timeline for your budget development. So this is something to really think about for your treasurers. January is tell your PE and committee chairs that you're starting to think about next year's budget and what they'll be asking for their input. So for example, like say for a membership chair, all right, I want to, we need a budget that we're going to bring in 3 new members and what it is going to be. So, put that in your budget. The spring, contact each committee chair and ask a budget request for the coming year. March, prep your president-elects for goals and pets. Like I said, best to do your polio fund and your annual fund share, what that might be. April, May, discuss with PE and prepare draft budget. May, June, prepare budget and present to the board. And July 1st, your new year. And all year long, your monitor and report your budget that you have set forth. So, and like I said, don't hesitate to reach out if you need help. My information is right there, and my telephone number. Peter's information is there, also his telephone number. And you can always reach out to the .7570.org and go to the member access help tab, and that will direct you. And DACDB also has FAQ and help desk and contacts and more. So. All right, so in summary today, we had key learning points, the role and responsibility of the treasurer, your resources, what is expected of you, your club budget, your financial records and accounts, communication with the club, your district RI and IRS, your financial reporting, your fiscal control, and best practices. So I'm going to open it up now. So if anybody has any questions or comments, let's hear them. So bring them on. See what I can do.
All right, let's challenge him. Anybody have questions? Well, I have one for you, Jacob. I
Yes.
know some clubs require 2 signatures on all checks, and some clubs have, if it's over a certain amount, it requires 2 signatures. What do you consider best practice?
It all depends, like, for example, like in the district, we have 2 signatures required for over $1,000. It really depends if you're, like, for us, it's a further distance away. So if you're, have a higher amount, I guess, but if you're, we'll say if Nine Beth lives right next door to you, Kathy, then it's easier to get 2 signatures. Or if you live, if you're going to see her every week at your club meetings, it's easier to do that. But for Peter and I, we have to go back and forth on the mail or rely on the mail. And today, United States Postal Service, not very reliable to say. So, but yeah, I would say that's really up to each club on that limit. I've seen $500, about $500, where you have to have 2 signatures, but ours is $1,000 for the district. So,
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Jacob?
like I said, please don't hesitate to reach out to me after the president, after this. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to see if I can answer them. If I can't answer them, I will definitely find someone that can at RI. So.
And just another plug, there is on myrotary.org, the Rotary Learning Center, and they have fantastic learning modules, and they have a module for each one of the club officers. So there's a module for a club treasurer, and it really goes through a lot of what Jacob has gone through today too. And it's something you can do on your own time and your own speed. You don't have to go in and spend 2 hours going through the whole module at one time. You can take a couple of the little lessons at a time, and it's really very well done. So I'd highly recommend you coming in as treasurer, if you're a new one, or even if you've been a treasurer for a while. It's good to refresh. And that's a great resource that Rotary International is providing for us. So I highly recommend you going to the Learning Center and check out those modules. Any other questions? Well, thank you for joining us today. Jacob, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate all your time and expertise here. I really do appreciate that. And as we said earlier, all these sessions are being recorded, and we'll put a link to the recording on the district training page on the website. So if anybody in your club couldn't make it today and would like to review it and view it, they can go right to the district website and click on the link, and you can see the whole session. So again, thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate it. Thank you, Jacob.
Thanks.
Everybody,
See you guys. Have a good one.
thank you. Everybody have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Good night.
Bye-bye.